market where the cleaning supplies are. Trying to go down there to get some kind of like stain remover thing, I almost have to hold my breath and go quickly. Because it's like I can taste the chemicals. I can, not only feel them in the air, but I can taste them.
There is value to keeping your house or wherever you spend time.
Makes it hard to breathe.
So there's value to keeping your window cracked, to letting fresh air come through. There's more toxins that build up in a building than outside. Even though you think there's things polluting outside, there's still more dilute because the breezes blow those pollutions away. And so most homes actually would benefit from letting it get aired out every day. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So, high-fat meal test. I wonder how they would talk these people into this. Well, it's not very hard when you make the high-fat meal, something called ice cream, or chocolate syrup, or a milkshake.
The healthiest approach is a whole food, plant-based diet. But there are promising pharmacologic approaches to the normalization of high blood sugars and fat by taking medications. However, resorting to drug therapy for an epidemic caused by a maladaptive diet is less rational than simply realigning our eating habits with our physiological needs.
That's worth reading twice or 3 times. The American style of medicine is often from what you see on the commercial. You see your doctor every few months, but what influences your health choices is what you see on the TV during commercial time. And so what do they tell you? Well, these simple, silly messages like, well, you know you're going to get that heartburn when you have that pizza, so prepare ahead, just take your Pepcid ahead of time, or some theme like this. They're not telling you just to eat a better pizza, put different things on the pizza. No, they're telling you, find a way to patch it with this Band-Aid so that you're not going to be bothered by the pizza as much. And that's like treating the symptoms instead of treating the cause. But that's kind of universal American rationale for how to go through life. Just get a pill, patch the problem, treat the symptoms.
And acids do damage to kidneys.
Yeah.
They don't tell you that.
They don't do it in a quick fashion, but people are on this for years and years. And so even a little bit of injury can add up over time. It affects your risk for bad infections because the acid is helpful to killing off the bad bacteria. So there's many good things that are now not being done for you if you resort to the pills to reduce the acid in your stomach. So this is some research scientists actually saying this. Why resort to drug therapy when we can just change our eating habits? Profound. All right. So that ends that topic. Was there any questions that weren't quite clear on this?
There's a question here.
It's worth reviewing this and then re-watching the video if you have access to the internet, because it all goes kind of quick.
I understand that if you eat a baked potato plain, I understand that part. But I heard that if you add beans to it, it actually drops the index down. If you add that.
What you're bringing up is a good point. This is just a very small focus on very specific questions in this here, but it doesn't address the whole picture. What you're referring to is your glycemic index and a glycemic load. The index means that we know when we eat potatoes, they digest very quickly, and your blood sugar goes up more than you'd like. So we usually are told to eat very small servings. But now if you mix them with other foods on your plate, like you're mentioning beans, the glycemic load on your body is different now. It doesn't act like just you eating a potato. It's a combined effect of you eating beans with that. And that curve, instead of being a spike, now ends up being more blunted. Beans have a lot of fiber in them. So the digestion, doesn't just whip through your, like, when potatoes digest, they can turn into glucose very quickly. So it's not that different than drinking sugar water. And because there isn't any lumpiness to it for the most part, all of that can leave your stomach very quickly. Just to illustrate, your stomach has, when it's all full of food, it doesn't open up the exit, the pylorus, very much, just a tiny bit. So all that sneaks out is the liquid for the meal. If you didn't eat any liquid, well, the stomach is making 2 liters worth of liquid for you. So it fills up the stomach with its own liquid if you didn't drink any. And so that's the preferred way of the stomach getting filled with liquid. And so then what's coming out is just the liquid, because all the lumpy stuff won't fit through that small little opening that it relaxes to. And so the beans, if you've chewed them, they're still going to be a little lumpy and not going to get through very quickly. So it's in a sense buffering. The potatoes in your stomach now can't empty as quickly because they're slowed down by the beans being there in your meal as well. How about adding some salad to that? Put salad dressing of lemon juice on your salad. You think, well, I don't like lemon juice. Well, the acid of the lemon juice actually makes your stomach environment more acidic. It takes a period of time for your stomach to build up its acid as it's making the acid. But by eating the acid in lemon juice on your salad, right away your stomach gets to that acidic level quicker. And so what does acid tell your stomach? It tells it to slow down, not to empty so quick. And so you want your stomach to empty in a healthy rate. You don't want the stomach to be full of food all night long. You know, that would be a disease process if it didn't empty quickly. But you want it to not just empty in about 5 or 10 minutes, because now you're dumping all that sugar into your small bowel and going to get a bigger spike. So by having it emptying slow down a little bit, reasonable by the other foods you ate, you can find different ways now. They're all adding to the effect of gradually blunting that spike because it's slowing the gastric emptying. And so,
is that the same with white potato as it is with sweet potato?
no, they're not the same. Sweet potato is a little easier on your blood sugars.
Oh, okay.
So if you like both kinds, opt for the sweet potato if you have equal choices.
Right.
You know.
And I think purple potatoes, red potatoes, and the yellow, the golden potatoes are all better than the white potato. Is that correct as far as choices go? Or does it make any difference?
They're not as dramatic a difference as with sweet potato.
On antacid you were talking about, when I get a real bad heartburn, I usually take a little bit of water and put some baking soda in there, and it relieves the. Is that bad for you or what?
Yes.
It is.
Well, it's similar to taking Pepsid in the sense that it reduces your acid level. If you swallow Tums, you're kind of doing the same thing. You're taking something that can absorb acid and buffer the acid, and so you're making your stomach less acidic. Often a sour stomach is what you're feeling when you have a very acid stomach. You feel it as indigestion. And so in a sense you're raising the pH or making it less acidic by adding the bicarbonate baking soda too.
So that's not good then.
Well, I guess if you're going to be so sick that you're going to throw up, it might be a natural remedy to reduce that. But if you can sort out what it is that led to that indigestion, treat the cause instead of just treating the symptoms, in the long term, that's what I would recommend, is find out which foods didn't agree with you. Was it the timing? Was it the amount? Was it the kinds of foods? And if you see that pattern, then you can find out, well, I'll just eat less of this pizza because it gives me indigestion. There are some foods to really avoid eating late at night. Anything in the dairy family will lead to indigestion because it takes so long for it to digest.
Okay.
The cheese in particular.
Is there a healthier bicarbonate soda to use? I've heard something about aluminum in it or in the processing. Do you know anything about that?
Well, I've heard different concerns about the aluminum. Not, I don't think I've seen, if it was convincingly dangerous, they wouldn't put it in products that you consume. Like, you can see it added to, like,
Well.
I think Rolaids and some baking powder has that in it. Because they're concerned that it ends up in your brain when you have Alzheimer's.
Okay.
But not everyone's convinced that it was the cause of the Alzheimer's, but simply after the Alzheimer's came along, the dying tissue is now marked with the aluminum. So that's the difference between a cause and effect. It just, so they're not all agreed that the aluminum in the diet is causing the Alzheimer's. But if there's some doubt or some concern, it's not unreasonable just to avoid foods that, or products that have aluminum in them. Often you can just substitute a different product for it. And so like some baking powders, they now advertise aluminum free for that reason.
Now,
I think she was ahead of you.
okay.
Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I was just wondering if just a small amount of charcoal could be an emergency thing at the time. I know it absorbs a lot of your nutrients, but at least it's
Right.
better than the medications.
Yeah, and that's something to keep in mind. If you have, you can buy it in capsules or in a powder form at some orchards or somewhere. You can get charcoal. Activated charcoal acts like these other products to absorb the acid and buffer it and reduce the indigestion by doing that. If you're taking medication at the same time as taking the charcoal, it's going to absorb some of your medicines. And so it might not be good to have them at the same time, because the reason you're taking the medicine is now going to be not neutralized, but it's like taking less of that medicine because it's getting absorbed in the charcoal as well as all the toxins you're taking it for. So that might be another remedy to try, is just activated charcoal instead of the baking powder.
Yeah.
Some people have consumed calcium products like Tums for the indigestion. You can get it in liquid form or tablet. The liquid form, it works more quickly because it's already a liquid. The calcium triggers your stomach to make more acid. So initially the calcium mixes with the acid in your stomach and buffers it, reduces the acid in your stomach. But then it turns around by being in your stomach and it triggers your stomach cells to make more acid.
So it's a rebound effect.
Yeah. So even though short term you do see some benefit from taking these Tums, you'll find you just have to keep taking them because it's not fixing the problem. And that's one reason why that's the case.
So that a market-
Fiber function the same way?
Marketing strategy.
Fiber fiber is, foods have pH buffers in them. And fiber is, has buffers
And
in
then
it.
you can avoid all the,
So that's, they're milder buffers. Go ahead.
One of my coworkers, the doctor prescribed them a small papaya every day instead of taking all the medicine. And that seemed to work for them, was taking the papaya.
Mm-hmm.
And so he'd go to, oh, good, they're on sale, because I met him saw him at the grocery store. He said, oh, good, they're on sale, and he bought, he bought a week's worth at a time, and so he would divide it up. And it does work, because
He's using it for what?
upset sour stomach,
Okay.
for, it's capsid and so.
So he just eats it raw?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
the
and so I
enzymes.
would,
See
so
papaya
when it was very stressful at work, I would take one and divide it into 4, so I'd have 4 days worth.
Yeah.
And it seemed to work out pretty good, but instead of taking medicine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's because of the enzymes. You can also get it in tablet form too.
Okay.
Papaya enzymes.
Yeah, I remember that enzyme because when I used to wear contacts, you clean the contacts by having these enzymes in that cleaning solution. And it digests the proteins that are in your tears and gets rid of that film that collects on the surface of your contacts using those enzymes. So I could see how if you're adding those to your meal, it could help digest some of the food that may not be digesting now because of your sour stomach.
He's already tried the diet, he's already tried all the other, and that was what.
Uh-huh.
But isn't that the same as taking the Tums or all the other stuff, is you're still not eliminating the problem like cheese or pizza or whatever.
Yeah.
So isn't, I
Well-
mean, while it sounds better than pills, you're still taking stuff away, the acid that maybe will go after bad bacteria.
Right.
He was
So
already
what
vegan.
you're, in the short term, in this path to health, we might have some bad days where we eat foods we really shouldn't, or we ate more of them that we shouldn't, and I'm not promoting that we always find a way to get around it. I think your point is well taken, that if you can learn, your stomach will teach you what foods were a poor choice. And next time, do something different to avoid that. And with trial and error, you can become, you can learn from that indigestion and now treat the cause by realizing which foods take longer to digest, which ones should you not eat, causing those problems. Yeah.
Can I ask you another question before you start a new topic? About cheese. I have a real issue with cheese. It's a real
like it?
It's a real problem for me. I've been weaning myself off of it, and last night I was too tired to be shopping. I came home with some cheese. It's like, who did that? How did that happen?
Did you go shopping with your stomach empty?
My stomach's usually not empty for very long.
That's the best time for me to go shopping.
Oh, it was sad, but
It's right after a meal. Don't
Yes.
go before the meal.
right,
Bad
right.
news.
It's better. So what I opted to do is I bought some vegan cheese. And I don't know, in our class on Mondays and Thursdays, I figured that's a yellow light food because it's a what I'm calling, it's in the category of a meat substitutes, it's a
Yeah.
cheese substitute.
Yeah.
But I wondered about that because when I got to putting like a third slice of this vegan cheese on something, I thought, you know what? What is it in cheese that's driving my wheel? Because
Well-
there's something more there that's got an addictive piece.
Yes. There are chemicals in the cheese that are opioids.
Oh, there you go. There. Oh,
They have the same
How
effect
simple is
that
that?
morphine does on your brain.
morphine.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm chasing the high.
Is that the same for chocolate?
There's an addictive
Opioids?
quality. I'm not sure the exact name of it, but it's not a surprise that the foods you find are hard to put down are actually having some, it's not just your imagination, there's some real feedback to your brain. It's hitting those same sensors that other addictions do.
Okay,
Is
thank
it
you.
By understanding that, you may be the kind of person that you just can't, once you start, you can't just stop at one slice. Because the addiction makes you choose more than you really want. It's not a rational thing.
Something like white potato chips, you can't eat just one.
Yeah.
Well, I knew
That's
something was up
true.
when I reached for the third slice of vegan cheese.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's going on here?
Potato chips have three addictive things. They have sugar
Yep.
from the carbohydrates, they have the salt, and they have the fat.
Right.
Anytime you mix those three together, you're actually finding a food that's more addictive than cocaine. In rat experiments, they will prefer the food over cocaine. And these are rats that have been bred to be cocaine addicts. In
And
other
what are
words, they
the,
like the cocaine.
what are the three components?
Fat, salt, and sugar. Ice cream has two, sugar and fat. That's why some people, if they don't have a sweet tooth, they have a salty tooth. Either way, they can't put it down, and it's not usually the carbohydrates that's a problem, it's all the fat that's mixed with it that is the poor thing on your health.
And now they found that they mix the salt with the sweet.
They do.
And,
Sweet and sour sauces are more
Yes.
addictive than just sweet sauces.
yeah.
They have sweet and sour energy bars now.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Because even though just sweet and sour, there's salt in there too.
Mhm.
Well, that's why I keep emphasizing we need a higher power to deliver us from addictions. It's something that's not easily broken just by knowing about it. So this is worth reviewing, these ideas. The bottom line is they've taken a few examples here, but you wouldn't be surprised then if you eat mostly plants with a meal, your blood sugars are going to be in a more normal range. so that all these foods like the potatoes or like whatever other carbohydrates you're eating it, they're going to have a more blunted response if we mix them with plant-based foods. So all the foods that we are trying to encourage you to eat less of that are in the red light area or the yellow light, they're going to, in general, exaggerate the blood spike of sugar afterwards. And so that affects all of us, whether we have diabetes or not. And how do those blood sugars affect you? Well, 2 hours later, or 3 hours, depends on how big your meal was. Like I've told this example of me eating my raisin bran for breakfast. About 10 or 10:30, I would start feeling low blood sugar. How could that be? It was a plant-based, healthy food. Well, the processing makes this body make too much insulin, more than it needed. If it made just the right amount, you wouldn't bottom out. You would just go back to 0. And 0 doesn't make you shaky, but it makes too much. And so then you go hypoglycemic, because now your blood sugars are below normal. And a normal person, that's not a big deal. You should get shaky, you just snack more. But that leads to overeating, eating at the wrong time, eating between meals. All those things are not helping us to shed the unhealthy pounds. And so I just switched what the carbohydrates were. And so with trial and error, you can figure that out. Oatmeal, granola, some complex carbohydrates, or mix something else with that food. Some peanut butter, will blunt the absorption. So instead of just like the average American would just get a coffee around that time, the caffeine in the coffee would raise the blood sugar. 5 minutes later, problem solved, cured. Is that the best way to attack the problem? It's better to find a food for breakfast that gives you a blunted, more even blood sugar level than to just patch it with a cup of coffee mid-morning.
I have a really quick question. I started making potato leek mushroom soup this morning.
Okay?
Hearing about the beans, I don't have time to go home and cook beans to
Okay.
put in my soup. I have some almond butter at home. If I mix a little bit of the almond butter in the soup, will that level out the spike that the potatoes cause?
Well, nuts and beans do that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So you're getting, it's a whole food. So the protein that's in the nuts, that it doesn't have this inflammatory response that you get from like the fish or the other meats that we talked about in that first chart. Okay. Now I wanted to
It's just about time.
Yeah, it's almost time.
Sure. I guess we ran out of time. We can take 1 or 2 more questions. The supplement I want to talk about is magnesium. It's not something we often address, and it turns out that people who eat the average American diet and vegetarians as well aren't getting enough magnesium in their diet. And we'll learn a little bit about what it does and how you can eat it in a natural form. And why does it matter? What do you need healthier magnesium for?
Will you be here next week or Rob?
I believe I'll be here. We're going to schedule, next week we have a breakfast.
Oh, that's right, breakfast at 8:30.
Hopefully everyone here providing it understands that we're trying to promote a health breakfast, which is usually complex carbohydrates and low in fat. So if it tastes too good, just you'll have to use your discretion and eat a moderate breakfast. I know that's all I always struggle with that,
Well, I'll already have breakfast at 5. I can't wait till 8:30.
All right. Well, so that'll be 8:30 to 9, somewhere in there. Certainly by 9:30 we'll start the class like usual, but if you can come here a half hour or an hour earlier, get to know some of the other people. They'll probably share some recipes and so on. That's how we learn some of these tips. Okay, let's bow our heads. Gracious Father, thank you for this hour of new understanding of blood sugars. May we learn to apply and treat the cause of our disease and not just the symptoms. Thank you for motivating us, helping us overcome the addictions that drive us to disease. We pray this all in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Isn't magnesium, isn't that one of the things